want to read something out of the forward of a book that kind of caught my attention. Long before man warred with man, the gods battled among themselves. Indeed, it was the wars of the gods that the wars of man began. And the wars of the gods for control of this earth had begun on their own planet. It was thus that mankind's first civilization succumbed to a nuclear holocaust. This is fact, not fiction. And it's all been written down a long time ago in the Earth Chronicles. How about that? A nuclear holocaust? We can even pinpoint the time tonight, and we have the author of the book called The Wars of Gods and Men making an encore appearance on Open Mind with us. Say hello to Zecharia Sitchin. Zechariah, welcome to Open Mind.
Good evening, sir.
The Wars of Gods and Men. Has this been going on all of this time?
Well, it's been going on for a long time. The wars of men certainly are still with us.
Oh, yes, indeed they are. What is it, 38 of them raging right now?
Well, who can count?
Who can count and who can keep up with them? Zechariah, when we first talked to you, we talked about an enormously important book, I thought, called The 12th Planet, and then there's been Stairway to the Heaven. You have been delving into some ancient writings, have you not?
Yes, I've been delving into ancient writings, Bill, and I have spent, I could say, most of my lifetime. I was about to say my adult life, but I thought I'd better say my lifetime because many ask me, how did I happen?
Mm-hmm.
The word is in quotes, happen. How did I happen to get interested in the subject, and how did I come about to do all the research which, as you can see, and your listeners who have seen the books or read them can see, the immense research that was required for it.
It is extensive.
And it really, Bill, literally takes us back to my childhood, so I can say it was a lifetime, because it all started when I was a schoolboy in what was then Palestine, fortunate to read and study the Old Testament in its original language, which is very important. It makes a great difference. And we reached chapter 6 of Genesis, which is the story of the deluge.
Yes.
And not too many people have noticed, and one reason for that is that many biblical commentators prefer not to notice. They just skip over those verses. But the biblical tale of the deluge, of Noah and the ark and what happened, is preceded by 8 very enigmatic verses. And the most recalled, the most renowned of them, which is sometimes the subject, favorable subject of Sunday preachers, is that verse that says that those were the days just before the deluge, those were the days when there were giants upon the earth.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very familiar verse. And I, being 8, 9 years old, raised my hand and said, "Excuse me, teacher, but why do you say giants when the word in the Bible, the Hebrew word, is Nephilim, which means those who had come down, presumably from the heavens to earth?" And he said, "Sitchin, sit down. You don't question the Bible."
Don't ask those questions.
Right.
Of course not.
But I was not questioning the Bible. I was questioning an interpretation.
The etymology.
And that question stuck in my mind. What did the Bible mean by the word Nephilim? Why did it call them Nephilim? Because the Bible, the language of the Bible, and I'm talking now about the Hebrew of the Old Testament, is very precise, very precise. And if the Bible called them those who had come down, there was a reason for it. And the answer has developed into 3 books and hopefully one more.
Well, you you more than touch, you get very definitely into the Nephilim in the 12th planet. I noticed that you were going to be speaking out here at one of our really advanced universities, Claire Booth Prophet's Place, where they get into all kinds of things. I heard her give a lecture one
Yes.
night on the 12th planet.
Tomorrow.
And tomorrow we're doing it. Let's just get into that. You'll be talking with Elizabeth Clare Prophet about his discoveries at 3 o'clock tomorrow at Summit University. That's out at 26800 West Mulholland Highway out in Calabasas. And be there if you want to hear more about Mr. Sitchin's fascinating research. They have gotten into it very deeply out at the university.
Yes, I think they have. I think my books are required reading there, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, her late husband wrote a book that had the very similar theme.
I'm not familiar with that.
I have it at the house, in fact. That was some time ago. Well, it struck me, Zechariah, as we look at your research, that you found some ancient writers, the Sumerians, and all through that period at
Yes.
that time, that were either the greatest science fiction writers of all time, or otherwise they were historians. And I have a hard time buying that these ancient gentlemen could come up with rockets and clones and people from other planets and nuclear wars from their point of reference. So perhaps they were historians rather than science fiction writers.
Well, I believe so, Bill, and I hope that I have put together enough evidence. As you mentioned, it is not only written evidence, not only the actual ancient texts, which are very detailed and very effective in bringing to life what they have known or they have seen, but it is also accompanied by pictorial evidence, because the Sumerians, whom you mentioned, who are really the origin of all the so-called mythologies of all the ancient peoples, Greeks included, were also very prolific artists. They are really the inventors not only of many firsts in technology or in literature or in education or in medicine or in concepts of law and justice and so on. They were also the inventors, if you want, of the rotary press, because they used to cut small cylinders, about on the average an inch high, of very hard stone, sometimes semi-precious stone, and they engraved, nobody yet knows how, they engraved minutely pictorial depictions in reverse as a negative into those cylinders. Then they rolled them on clay, on wet clay, and when the clay dried, you had a permanent record of the positive. So this is really the idea of the rotary press, which we think is a 20th century invention, but that was used 6,000 years ago. And their tales, if we want to call them that, are very detailed. They tell us that people from another planet, which they called Nibiru, meaning planet of the crossing. Its symbol, by the way, was the cross. So the cross too is not an innovation going back to the times of Jesus, but preceded Jesus by at least 4,000 years and was the symbol of that planet. They said that there is one more planet in our solar system. They not only named all the planets, some of which, Bill, as you know, we ourselves in modern times have discovered only about 100 or just 50 years ago. Pluto, for example, was discovered about 50 years ago. They knew of all those planets. They described them, how they look. They depicted them in the correct order and in the right relative sizes.
Wonder how they got that information.
Well, this is really the question that answers your question, is it fiction or is it fact? Because they depicted the whole solar system with the sun in the center, by the way, not as the Greeks after them